Now we shift from knowing TOGAF to using it. You'll work through realistic practitioner scenarios, weigh governance, roadmaps, requirements, and compliance. Then choose the best architecture response. The goal is confidence, exam-ready decisions that also hold up in real organizations. You've already built the foundation. TOGAF concepts, the ADM, governance, migration, Azure architecture, security, and responsible AI. Now the task changes. Instead of recalling concepts in isolation, you'll apply them under exam-style ambiguity and choose the most architecturally sound response. Practitioner questions are less about naming the right TOGAF concept and more about making the right architectural judgment. Ask what problem the architect is really facing. Or what triggered the situation? Which ADM phase is in play? Who are the stakeholders and what constraints or governance expectations apply? Then evaluate the options in that context. The strongest answer is usually structured, collaborative, traceable, and aligned with ADM guidance. Be cautious with answers that jump straight to technology choices or final solutions before the scenario supports them. When a scenario feels complex, slow down before choosing. Read for context. What is the organization trying to achieve, and what pressure is driving the change? Then frame the issue. Is it about vision, requirements, architecture definition, migration, governance, or change management? Next, assess constraints such as risk, regulation, budget, time, stakeholder concerns, and capability gaps. Only then decide. Choose the option that best fits the ADM sequence, governance discipline, and architecture principles. Focus first on whose outcome is affected and what they are worried about. Sponsors may care about value, data owners about quality, security about risk, operations about supportability, and users about usability. The key is to separate the concern from someone's preferred solution. We need encryption. May really mean protect sensitive data. Once the concern is clear, choose the viewpoint that communicates best. Business cases for executives, security views for CISIS, or operational models for support teams. Then keep requirements and decisions traceable back to those concerns, so the architecture remains justified and auditable. A practical way to place a scenario is to look for the strongest clue. If the issue is capability, scope, principles, stakeholders, or the business case, you are early in the ADM, preliminary or phase A. If the scenario asks for target business, data, application, or technology architectures plus gap analysis, think phases B through D. If it focuses on solution options, migration planning, roadmap, governance, or compliance during delivery, think phases E through G. When requirements change, or the architecture must stay aligned over time, connect it to phase H and requirements management. In practitioner scenarios, several options may sound reasonable. Test which one behaves most like TOGAF. Start with business alignment. Does the action protect the link between goals, requirements, and implementation choices? Then check governance. Are the right stakeholders, architecture board, or decision bodies involved at the right point in the ADM? Strong answers use formal artifacts, trade-off analysis, traceability, and documented decisions. Be cautious of answers that bypass governance, ignore requirements, or rush into detailed technology design before the architecture work is ready. Imagine executives ask for an enterprise AI platform, but each group means something different. One wants productivity, another wants customer insight, and another worries about risk. That is not the moment to design Azure services in detail. The architect's first move is to shape the architecture vision, confirm sponsorship, define scope, capture stakeholder concerns, and agree on business value and success measures. Artifacts like the stakeholder map, value proposition, and statement of architecture work keep the effort grounded. If the CISO raises concerns, don't leave them for the delivery team to solve later. Data leakage, weak identity control, model misuse, and regulatory exposure are architecture concerns. Translate each concern into an explicit architecture requirement, then address it through security viewpoints, risk assessment, zero trust controls, and compliance traceability. Think MFA, private networking, encryption, audit logging, and data classification. The trap is treating security as an implementation detail instead of part of target architecture design. In TOGAF, when a requirement changes during architecture work, The answer is not to simply accept it or reject it. Log the change, then assess its impact across the ADM: scope, principles, risks, roadmap, contracts, and compliance. If the impact is significant, take it through governance for a decision. Then update the affected artifacts and communicate the outcome. The key is controlled change with traceability, not informal negotiation. Here, the target architecture is no longer the debate. The challenge is turning it into a migration roadmap people can actually execute. Use phases E and F to break the target into work packages, define transition architectures, and sequence them by more than technical logic. Ask what delivers business value early, what reduces risk, what depends on something else, what funding is available, and whether teams are ready. The common trap is choosing the cleanest engineering path. The better answer is the roadmap that is achievable, funded, and value aligned. When a team asks for an exception, the right answer is not simply yes or no. Treat it as a governed decision. Ask why the standard cannot be met, what risk is introduced, who owns that risk, and how long the exception should last. If approved, document the rationale, add compensating controls, set an expiry date, and schedule reviews. Avoid both extremes. Automatic rejection can block delivery, while informal approval weakens architecture authority. If a project starts making design choices that differ from the approved architecture, the architect's job is not just to track progress. It is to assess compliance. Use an architecture compliance review, supported by architecture contracts and governance checkpoints, to compare implementation against requirements, standards, security, data, integration, and operational expectations. Then decide whether the deviation is acceptable, needs remediation, or requires a formal exception or change approval. Exam readiness is not just remembering TOGAF terms. It is applying a repeatable routine under time pressure. Scan the scenario for business context and trigger words. Locate the ADM phase and name the stakeholder concern: vision, requirements, target architecture, roadmap, governance, compliance, or change. Then test each option. Reject answers that jump into technical detail too early, bypass governance, ignore stakeholders, or break traceability. Answer clear questions first. Flag complex ones, and return with discipline. The goal is to choose the best TOGAF response, not the first plausible answer. The main takeaway is that practitioner success depends on judgment, not memorization. Read each scenario through its business drivers, stakeholders, requirements, constraints, risks, and governance context. Then align your response to the right ADM phase and artifact. From here, refine your capstone, target weak exam areas, and keep practicing TOGAF as a workplace decision framework.